member of a family where music was kind of a central thing. My dad was a very good amateur trumpet player, and my mom's dad was a professional trumpet player, so trumpet was everywhere. So it's real deep, that trumpet thing for me, and I would list among my most important influences trumpet players. Gary Burton Quartet of the late 60s, that was like the Beatles for me. That was the band that somehow seemed to have their finger on the pulse of that moment within the realm of improvised music that was unlike anything else. There wasn't a piano player. The guitar was almost functioning in the role of a horn player. I came to Boston within a month or so. I think he came to a couple of gigs to check out how I was doing. And then he added me to his band, and through that, many other things happened. Manfred Eicher heard me on the first Gary Burton record in 1974 and offered me the opportunity to do a record, but it happened way faster than I ever would have expected that I became a leader. Maybe in a way that only somebody who's 21 or 22 years old would ever feel like, that I wanted to kind of do things on my own terms, and that's what I did. Guitar is this infinitely malleable thing. The list is endless in terms of things that I've tried to do to expand the palette of what being the guitar player in the band is. I can have a certain amount of pride over what the years that have followed represent. That balance of mixing a lot of written material with really deeply challenging improvisational material is an area that I'm still working on. The Orchestrion project, the first thing I usually say about it is that had there been any doubt about how weird I actually am, that project put it to rest once and for all. That's sort of the impulse that led to the Orchestrion project, is that I could, from the guitar, generate all of this material from a guitar that was acoustic in nature. I wasn't playing synths. I was playing what would happen in a room. The air was moving. In the years that I've been active, I've made records all different kinds of ways, from very quickly, 4, 5, 6 hours, to spending months on a project. And it's always dependent on what your goal is. What story do you want to tell with that project? However, you want to preserve the moments. You want to preserve the things that are true. It's an honor beyond anything I ever could have imagined growing up out there in Missouri. And it's especially great to have my beautiful family, my wife Latifah, my boys Nicholas and Jeffrey, my daughter Maya are here. Got a whole bunch of cousins here that came from all over the states on the Metheny and on the Hanson side of our family. They flew in here just to be here. And to look out and see so many of my favorite musicians and favorite music people, it just makes all of this even more meaningful. It's been such a special weekend, too, to share this honor with Todd, Joanne, and Diane, folks I admire so much, and to be able to hear them speak and to be around them has made it all even more memorable. And to have Christian and Antonio here, my brothers, and the whole crew of these amazing 5 guitar players that are just out there doing incredible things. It just makes it absolutely fantastic. It's been such a privilege for me to have lived alongside and worked closely with so many of the greatest musicians of our time, several of whom have also been bestowed this award in recent years. Among them, my most important mentor, Gary Burton, who I could never thank enough for the many lessons in all departments learned along the way through him. And my best friend in life, Charlie Hayden, who I miss every day. And my two all-time favorite drum heroes, Jack DeJohnette and Roy Haynes. Also two of my favorite people in the world. And to be noted among them and so many of my other major heroes in this music tonight is an almost overwhelming honor. When I look at the community of musicians recognized historically by this distinction, representing an almost indescribably wide variety of musical dialects, I see one common thread: a complete commitment to creativity, a commitment to represent who they are and where they came from with honesty and integrity and soul, and a commitment to bring a sound into the world that reflects their own personal experiences and individuality. To me, that mission is the central objective in this music, and my goal has always been to do my best to try to meet that aspiration. As musicians, we find ourselves trading in a currency that has way more actual value than the people at the top might realize. Sometimes it takes years, decades even, for the true impact of what this community has offered to be felt. Politicians come and go. Great music has a way of lasting and remaining influential for a really, 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 really long time. Anyone seeking long-term political influence should probably pay attention to that. What is represented in this music at its best, and the incredible range of musicians who populate it, is often transcendent of the culture that it is made in, even while being deeply formed by the forces at work at the time of its inception. Right now, without question, there are major cultural and political challenges that we all have to face. It's important to note, whenever possible, how the language of music, and this music in particular, offers its value intrinsically and fundamentally within the currency of good notes and sound itself, with little regard for the more everyday kinds of ways that folks tend to measure value. The messaging system that has evolved through the work and research of the practitioners of this music, the actual values that we trade in every night, can serve as an ideal model for many of the goals that we collectively aspire towards as human beings and as a society. Having lived through a number of political ups and downs, if I think back on my favorite music, it's hard to remember which administration was in place during this time or that time, because the hard currency of music and the arts in general has a way of going far beyond any of that. Even if the work at hand is formed through the tensions of a particular time and place, the best music suggests a way of living and being that often provides a kind of timeless substance that goes way past the immediate conditions of its creation, even while presenting sometimes important perspectives on current events or the circumstances of history that affected its arrival. One important thing to note on this front: the NEA really understands this. The fact that we are all here tonight is such a testament to that. It's very important for all Americans to fight for and support its continued survival. The NEA represents on an institutional level the soul that a functioning democracy must have to exist. In closing, there's one observation that I've had over the years that I try to point out to musicians as often as I can. The majority of people who will get the most out of this music are likely not on the planet yet. Our biggest audience and the folks who will gain the most from what we are all working so hard on and are so committed to are quite possibly not even born yet. There's a very particular kind of faith revealed in knowing that and still devoting every waking minute to finding the right resolution, the right groove, the right ways to push and pull and to fight and to listen. What we are all swinging for is something eternal. It's always worth it, no matter what the struggle, and this music at its best is proof positive of the true value represented in that faith, the kind of value that makes the contents of Fort Knox seem utterly insignificant in comparison in the larger scheme of things. The essence of music somehow contains the secrets of how we all got here and where we all are going. What a privilege it has been to live a life inside that music. Once again, thank you to the NEA for this incredible honor. I'm humbled and grateful beyond words. Thank you.